Welcome back to another lesson of math. This is Unit 4, Module 2, Session 3, and this is Part 2. Part 2 is going to be quite a bit quicker than Part 1, but this is just some more information on the standard algorithm for multi-digit subtraction. All right, so yesterday, or the last math class, I assigned you these 4 problems to do for homework, and I just wanted to go over the answers with you real quick. So I know that you submitted them into Seesaw, but here are the answers for you so you can see them. So 2025 minus 1984, you should have gotten 41. And you'll notice that this one, you can simply just go right ahead and subtract. You don't need to worry about regrouping, okay? And the same thing goes with the second one. So 1987 minus 1864, you should have gotten 123, all right? But then when you get to these two right here, you do have to do some regrouping before you can actually subtract. So for the first one, 2071 minus 1993, you should have gotten 78. And we know that we can't take away 3 from 1, so we had to go next door. And this 7 then became a 6 to turn this 1 into an 11. Okay, so 11 minus 3 equals 8. And then I still, once again, I can't take away 9 from 6. So again, I had to jump over twice, actually. This 2 became a 1, which made this 0 become a 10. And then I was finally able to regroup. So this 10, then that's where it became a 9. And then the 6 became a 16. And 16 minus 9 equals 7. So my answer for that one should have been 78. And then finally for the last one, 2005 minus 1967. I had more on the floor here. I can't take away 7 from 5, so I had to really regroup, right? I had to jump all the way over to this 2. This 2 then became a 1, which turned this 0 into a 10. But I still wasn't able to regroup this 5, so this 10 then became a 9, which turned this 0 into a 10. Then the 5 was finally able to regroup and use one of the 10s from that 10. So the 10 then became a 9, and the 5 became a 15. 15 minus 7 equals 8, and 9 minus 6 equals 3. So the answer should be 38. So there are your answers from your homework. All right, moving on. So I'm just going to kind of show you some of the strategies that we've talked about already. So we've talked about the find the difference strategy. So again, if you were doing 1993 minus 1967, you could simply jump from 1967 3 spaces and then jump 23 more to get to 1993, and you would have jumped 26 spaces. So there's the find the difference. You might like that one. Or you might like the constant difference strategy. If you remember that one, it's that one that reminds me of fractions. So whatever I do to the top number, I do to the bottom. In this case, whatever I do to one number, I also do to the other, which means if I'm going to add 3 to one of the numbers, I'm going to add 3 to the other number, just to turn them into numbers that are a little bit easier than to subtract. So then my 1993 became 1996, and my 1967 became a 1970, which then caused it to be easier for me to subtract and get 26. So same problem, but 2 different ways of doing it. And then the other one over here was Ted and Sherry's start with the 1 strategy, which is kind of like the intro or beginning to the standard algorithm of subtraction. So in this case, I can't take away 7 from 3, so then I had to go and regroup. So my 9 became an 8, and my 3 was then a 13. 13 minus 7 equals 6, and then 8 minus 6 equals 2, and then I have my answer of 26. All right, there we go. Because 13 minus 7 equals 6, and 8 minus 6 equals 2, we know that 9 minus 9 is 0, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So there, my friends, are 3 strategies, and now we're talking about the standard algorithm for subtraction, not so much addition, okay? So I have a little subtraction poem for you as well. More on the top, no need to stop. So more on the top, no need to stop. You just go ahead and subtract. But if you've got more on the floor, you're going to go next door and get 10 more. And then if the numbers are the same, 0 is the game. Okay, so that's kind of where you want to start with your subtraction. So here's the poem a little bit bigger. Again, more on the top, no need to stop. Just go ahead and start subtracting. 8 minus 5 equals 3. And then my 5 minus nothing is 5. So my answer was 53 for this one. If I have this one and I've got more on the floor, I can't take away 8 from 5. So that's where I do need to go next door and get 10 more, which means that my 5 would become a 4, and then my other 5 would become a 15, allowing me to subtract 15 minus 8 equals 7, okay? And then finally, if the numbers are the same, 0 is always the game. So 8 minus 8 does equal 0. So I know that you probably know this, but I'm just giving you a friendly reminder, okay? All right, so this brings us to the next part. So this is where you're going to need to open up your student book to page 143, and there are 4 problems that we're going to do on this page. We're just going to go through them together before I assign you your homework, all right? So these 4 problems that we are going to do together right here, I'm just going to give you a little bit of time to get your student book out. Make sure you have a pencil, maybe an extra pencil on hand just in case. All right. So this is more practice with the subtraction algorithm. So our first problem, so this is about Letitia, and she's figuring out information about the lives of her aunts and her uncles. Let's help Letitia solve these problems, all right? So Letitia's aunt was born in 1978, and Letitia was born in 1999. How old was Letitia's aunt when Letitia was born? So what we're going to do here is take 1999 minus 1978. And if you notice here, when I start with my ones, I'm taking away 9 from 8. More on the top, no need to stop. I know that 9 minus 8 equals 1, 9 minus 7 equals 2, and 9 minus 9, of course, is nothing, and 1 minus 1 is nothing. So Letitia's aunt was 21 years old when Letitia was born in 1999. So there's the first answer for that one. If you wanted to use one of the other strategies, that's totally fine. I do want you to get used to this one as well. This is probably the one that you're most familiar with. All right, moving on to problem number 2. Letitia's uncle was born in 1975, and he married Letitia's aunt in 2003. How old was Letitia's uncle when he got married? So in this case, we're going to take 2003 minus 1975. Now, when I'm looking at this one, I do have more on the floor, so I am going to have to go next door and get 10 more. However, when I do go next door to get 10 more, you'll notice that I don't have 10 more to get, right? So I have to jump all the way over to this guy over here. So this 2 is now going to become a 1, right? Then this 0 is going to become a 10. I still don't have enough to take from 5 from 3, so this 10 is now going to become a 9, whereas this can become a 10, all right? So now I will be allowed to go next door and get 10 more. So once again, I am going to regroup, and this 10 is now going to become a 9, and this 3 is going to become a 13. Now I am officially able to subtract. So 13 minus 5 is going to equal 8, okay? And then 9 minus 7 equals 2. And once again, 9 minus 9 is nothing, and 1 minus 1 is nothing. So Letitia's uncle was 28 years old when he married Letitia's aunt. So there's the answer to that one. All right, moving on to the next 2 problems. Okay, so for the next 2 problems, we've got Letitia's cousin was born in 2006. How old were Letitia's aunt and uncle when her cousin was born? All right, well, we know that Letitia's uncle was born in 1975, so we're going to have to do 2006 minus 1975. And we also know that Letitia's aunt was born in 1978 from the previous problem. So 2006 minus 1978. All right. So now I've got 2 problems to solve here. I'm just going to go ahead and change my color. Let's see here. Okay. So for the first problem here, 6 minus 8, I can't do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do some regrouping here. This is going to become a 1. This is going to become a 10. I still can't do anything yet, so I'm going to regroup again. This is going to become a 9, and this is going to become a 10. Once again, though, I still can't take away 8 from 6, so one more final time. I'm going to take this 10 and turn this into a 9 so that my 6 can become a 16. And now I can take away 8 from 16. So 16 minus 8 equals 8. and 9 minus 7 equals 2. So it looks like Letitia's aunt was 28 years old when Letitia's cousin was born. And then let's see how old Letitia's uncle was when her cousin was born. So for this one, I've got more on the top, so no need to stop for this one. Ooh, until I get to that next number there. So 6 minus 5 equals 1. I cannot take away 7 from 0, though. So I do have to jump all the way over to this 2. I'm going to regroup. This 2 is going to become a 1. So this 10, this 0 becomes a 10, sorry. And I still can't take away 7 from 0, so this 10 is now going to become a 9. And this 0 is going to become a 10. 10 minus 7 equals 3. So I'm sorry about that. It looks like we have that Letitia's uncle was 31 years old when Letitia's cousin was born, okay? Sorry that that 3 kind of looks a little weird there. Let me make that a little bit better for us. There we go. So 28 years old and 31 years old. And then finally, it says to choose 2 or more of the problems below to solve using the standard algorithm for subtraction. I'm going to go ahead and solve each one of them, and then I'm going to assign you your homework, okay? I'm going to go ahead and use red this time just to change it up. So 2012 minus 1997. All right, so I've got more on the floor, so I got to go next door and get 10 more. 12 minus 7 equals 5. I can't take away 9 from 0, so I'm going to do some regrouping here. This 2 is going to become a 1, and this 0 is going to become a 10. But now I can regroup, and I'm going to actually borrow from it. Okay, so now I have 10 minus 9 equals 1. So for this one, the answer is 15, because I know that 9 minus 9 is nothing, and 1 minus 1 is nothing. So I got 15 for this one. For this one, I also have more on the floor, so I got to go next door and get 10 more. So 13 minus 6 equals 7. All right. 8 minus 4 equals 4. And 9 minus 8 equals 1. So my answer is 147. Okay. So 1993 minus 1846 is 147. And then for this one, all right, once again, more on the floor. Go next door and get 10 more. All right. So my 2 becomes a 1, my 4 becomes a 14. 14 minus 6 equals 8. All right, I can't take away 6 from 1. I'm going to jump all the way over to this guy. So this 2 is going to become a 1. This 0 is going to become a 10. But once again, I've got to turn it into a 9 so that this 1 can become an 11. 11 minus 6 equals 5. So my answer for this one is 58. And then last but not least, I've got 2035 minus 1967. Okay, so more on the floor. Go next door and get 10 more. 3 becomes a 2. My 5 becomes a 15. 15 minus 7 equals 8. Now I've got 2 minus 6, can't do it, okay? But I also can't take from this 0. So I'm going to jump over here, and I'm going to regroup. This 2 is going to become a 1. This 0 will become a 10. When this 0 becomes a 10, I now have a number that the 2 can use. So I'm going to turn this 10 into a 9 so that this 2 can become a 12. I'm borrowing or regrouping that 10. So now I have 12 minus 6 equals 6. So my answer is 68. All right, so there you have it. If you need to go back and look at this to help you with your homework, please do so. All right, but let me show you what your homework is for tonight. All right, so your homework is Home Connection Book, page 77. I know that this says page 1 of 2, so we're going to do this page tonight, all right? Just these 6 problems. So it's Haley pulled 6 cards from a regular deck of cards. She arranged the cards into these 3-digit numbers, 348 and 956. If you could please go ahead and solve these 6 problems in your Home Connection book, snap a picture of it and post it into our Seesaw math class. All right, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.